Ladies and gentlemen, Seahawks and football fans everywhere, a very warm welcome back to the We Talk Seahawks podcast. I hope you're all doing well. Before we get into the main podcast tonight, because I know it's been a couple of weeks since we've been on, so I hope you've all had a good Christmas and New Year's and stuff like that. But as eager as we are to talk about our Seattle Seahawks tonight, of course, there's a situation in the NFL at the minute that is currently taking our attention completely, and rightly so. And that is the situation and the health of Damar Hamlin. Obviously, incredibly scary incident on Monday Night Football between the Bills and the Bengals. Obviously, I'm sure you're all aware of what happened now. I don't really need to go into the details, but obviously, Damar Hamlin suffering a cardiac arrest on the field after a hit from T. Higgins, and is still, as of time of recording, which is the 4th of January, Damar Hamlin is still in hospital in critical condition, but thankfully, there have been some more positive updates throughout the day today in terms of Damar, getting more oxygen on his own. I think he's down to about 50% now on a ventilator and 50% breathing oxygen on his own power, off his own accord. So that's really good news, and hopefully that news that we keep getting keeps trending in that positive direction. Really bit of an unprecedented sort of incident in the NFL. I think this has happened maybe once more in 1971. A Detroit Lions player, I think this happened to, but it was more of it was a heart attack, and he sort of collapsed a few plays after he took that hit. It wasn't an instantaneous thing like Damar Hamlin's was. So this is a pretty unprecedented situation in the NFL, and I'm sure none of us who ever followed the NFL have ever seen anything like this. Unfortunately, I can only speak for myself. As a football fan or as a soccer fan, to any of our American listeners, I've had the displeasure of witnessing this twice in professional sports. Fabrice Muamba in 2012, some of you may remember, the Bolton Wanderers player at the time, suffering a cardiac arrest on the field, and was clinically dead for quite a long time, but was thankfully revived and is still alive today. And then some of you, even if you don't follow football, maybe more aware of the Christian Eriksen one just in 2021, in the suburb of Denmark, and Manchester United footballer, obviously again suffering a cardiac arrest on the field, but was revived and is still alive and well and playing football today. But two incredibly scary incidents, and this was another one. Thankfully, I didn't watch it live. I was in bed, tucked up, and when I went to watch the highlights of the game, as I normally do on these late games, on my phone in the morning, and I couldn't find the highlights, and I was a little bit confused as to why the NFL hadn't posted the highlights. And then I went to social media, and unfortunately saw that news. So thankfully I didn't have to witness it live. But it's a really scary incident. I'm going to open the floor to you lads in a minute before we get onto the podcast proper, just to say anything you want to say on it. But for me personally, I just want to say a massive well done to all the emergency staff that were on hand that evening for the amazing job that they've done. Absolute credit to Zach Taylor and to Sean McDermott for the work that they've done in terms of keeping their players off that field and not allowing that game to go on, which the NFL potentially was prepared to do. And just let's keep hoping and keep praying that Damar keeps trending in this positive direction. And that is the sole focus of attention, I'm sure, for everyone in the NFL world at this moment in time. And yeah, that's all I've really got to say on it. I'm going to open the floor to you two lads, if you want to say any words on this current situation, any thoughts that you may have, and then we'll get to talking about our Seattle Seahawks.
I mean, it's horrifying, really, isn't it, when you think about it? A young man, was he 24?
24.
Yeah, and this has happened. I mean, we bang the drum about injuries and player safety on this pod quite a lot. I mean, it was a freak accident, but as you said, like you pinpointed two people that have had soccer players that have had heart attacks whilst playing. Now the list is bigger than two. I'll tell you that for nothing. For example, there was one on the 3rd of December, 2022, that hasn't been publicised. There's got to be something to do with cardiovascular health that the league, professional sports, should be doing. I mean, for everything I've listened to and watched about this, people say those hits happen 60 times a game. I think Pat McAfee was quite passionate about this, but they happen so many times in the game, and this is a freak incident, but it's a freak incident on one person. So you then have to ask the question, is there an underlying medical condition? Should he have been evaluated further? Is the league doing enough for player safety? Is the league doing enough for their health? I mean, I just hope the guy just recovers as best he can. I mean, even if he doesn't play football anymore, as long as he's got a quality of life, heart goes out to him and his family. You know, anyone that watched that live as well, you know, there's please talk to someone if it's really affected you. Because I know a lot of people, the players, especially on the field, it really affected them. So yeah, gutted, absolutely gutted to see it. It's a hard sport anyway. You don't really want to see things like that happen as well.
Yeah. It wasn't nice. Wasn't nice. As I say, woke up, I checked my phone. I was like 7-3. I was like, Jesus, that must have been good defense. And then I saw delayed. I was like, I thought whether. And then my mate messaged me and was just like, "Oh my God!" Well, sent me a tweet with the video what showed it, and you're just like, "It's not nice, not nice at all." But let's just hope he makes a recovery. Full recovery would be ideal. Whether he is able to play such a violent sport again with a condition like that, depending. Let's just hope he makes a full recovery. He's got all functions. Lights are back on fully, and he has a good quality of life. Like you two have said, there's not much really more to add to what you two have already said about it. So all you can do is just hope that he pulls through.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me as well, I think because I only really kind of found this out thanks to listening to the Mina Kimes show last night. That at this moment in time, if Damar Hamlin was to retire from the NFL, he wouldn't be covered for player insurance by the NFL because he hasn't played 5 years in the NFL. So I would just like to personally express that I think the NFL needs to sort that shit out, really, because that's not good enough.
It's awful, isn't it? It's disgusting.
It's awful.
The whole US medical system, whether you're a sportsman, you're an emergency service like man or woman, you know, sportsman or woman, or just a general civilian, it is awful. The fact you do not have access to affordable or free healthcare is disgusting. If any one of our listeners are American, which I know we know a lot of you are, in the UK, we don't pay for it. You know, it comes out of our taxes, it comes out of other means, you know, because let's face it, to give birth in the US, it costs you about 10 grand. Now, it costs us nothing, you know, which might explain quite a lot, to be honest. But the fact that this young man, after something so catastrophic could happen on an NFL field, and then the NFL gone, sorry, not played 5 years, you're not covered by our policy.
Mm-hmm.
Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
It's disgusting, and look, we care about all of our players because look, we're probably going to do it maybe at some point tonight. We'll have a go at certain players and say they're not good enough and say they should be doing this or that better. But at the end of the day, I could never do what they're doing. I could never be the athlete that they are. I could never have the bollocks to put those pads and helmets on and go out between those white lines and put their bodies on the line the way that they do. So for all the players, I guess there's a little bit of an apology really to all the players that I've ever slagged off and kind of said that you're shit and we should replace you and blah 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 blah. I don't really mean it because it's
sports hate, mate. It's fine. I think our friend Clinton says it all the time. It's sports hate. It's not real person hate. You literally leave that at the door. If someone has a bad game, you don't go tweeting them that you're going to set fire to the house.
Yeah.
You know, you just go, well, they had a crap game. That's it. Yeah. That's where people need to draw a line. It's like when people get angry at a soap opera or a movie at a character. That is an actor playing that character. It is not the real person. These are real people playing a sport. They can have an off day. And obviously some people have them worse than others. So
yeah. With that being said, let's as we end that little segment, let's continue to wish the very best for Damar Hamlin and his family. And however we see him, in whatever context of life we see him in the future, hopefully he will be there. So yes, let's start this podcast. in terms of the Seattle Seahawks, because as we've said off air, we've missed a couple of weeks, and you know, it was Christmas, New Year's. We've spent time with our families as we should have been. So hopefully you don't have a go at us too much on Twitter and whatever for missing a couple of weeks. Because I know you were desperately refreshing Twitter on Christmas Day, all of you waiting for a We Talk Seahawks podcast to drop. But we are back, and I tell you what, we're back with one more week to go. A fantastic win, it has to be said, over the New York Jets, a pivotal win over the New York Jets, because this means we go into the final week of the season with something to potentially play for. A fantastic defensive performance, fantastic offensive performance, 23-6. We've got a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to start, though, with the main man himself, Geno, because it might not be in the context that you think that we're going to talk about Geno tonight, because I think Pez has thrown a little bit of a spanner into the works off here, because he's got something to say about Geno that some of you may agree with him, some of you may not, but you're not too keen on keeping Geno for a certain price, are you, Pez?
No, not with the price that's being bandied around. My biggest concern, said it a couple of times on the pod. We actually recorded a pod, myself and you, James, but didn't manage to get it done because the file was corrupt, so we didn't manage to get it put out. And it was a good pod, in my opinion, talking about the team, the state of the team. And I mentioned it a couple of times in that pod. For our regular listeners, you might remember at the start of the season when we were talking about the quarterbacks, me and Josh would always bang on about the scariest thing for us is that Geno's serviceable. Pete uses that to keep himself in a job. We paid Geno too much money, and then after a year where all these teams have got tape on us, because Pete Carroll's not going to change, he's never changed, Geno gets found out. The back end of the season is starting to really make me uncomfortable with some of the things I've seen with Geno, where I would not be rushing to pay him big money, because I just bit worried next year the bubble might burst. He's been playing phenomenal. People don't get me wrong. Playing phenomenal. More than serviceable. Brilliant. And if he carries this on, fine. Next season, if he stays and he carries on this performance, I will turn around and go, hands up. Yeah, I was wrong. Fair enough. But it's an opinion. And it concerns me. It just concerns me how it's took. I understand he's a backup and this, but it's took him this long. Took him this long to do this. Kind of just worries me. It might be one of them flash in the pans next year, the bubble bursts, and then we're really crying because we're not getting a top 5 pick again. Like, we're not getting 2 firsts again. Like, unless you're shipping.
I'm getting the vibe from you, Pez, that as we all do, we all like Geno. We're all being blown away by his play this year in terms of what we expected from him. But and for all that he throws an excellent ball and is incredibly accurate and efficient, is it a case of, do you think his skill set in terms of outside of throwing a pretty ball and outside of being accurate is kind of, you know, once those teams do get film on him, is his skill set high enough to be able to, because everyone has film on Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, but their skill sets are so high and incredible that you can't do anything about it because the skill set's just on that kind of level. Now that teams will have a full season of film on Geno, do you think it's a case of you not wanting to pay that amount of money because you don't see his skill set being able to sort of transcend those sort of hours of film that teams will have on him?
Yeah, exactly that, in my opinion. When things break down around him, like I said, we've missed a couple of games. And in them couple of the games, you've seen it. We're in our Discord and stuff. We spoke about it with our Discord members and stuff. And it's concerning when everything breaks down around him. He breaks down. You saw it in this game, taking 12-yard sacks, doing like
pirouetting round.
In capability, like I understand you sat behind Russ for years. I get that, because some of the stuff he does, I watch it. It's like that's what you get for being stuck up behind Russell Wilson for many a year. But you need to remember, you didn't have the elusiveness of Russell Wilson, because he probably still is. He's had a bad year, yeah, whatever, but he is still up there as one of the most elusive quarterbacks in the league. Age maybe catching him on, but he's like a Mahomes. But with Mahomes, you saw it in the Super Bowl against the Bucs. He has no O-line. He struggles. The Bengals are showing everyone, when you play, is it too high against him? They play a certain defense and they lock him down every time. He like fears to throw deep on them. Like, so, but he still gets it done. He can still switch to something different. Josh Allen, he's like a fucking battering ram. If his throwing lets him down, he just starts running and no one can tackle him. Whereas I don't see that in Geno. Like Josh said, the pirouetting. Josh Allen does a pirouette like that, he's gaining yards, not minus 12.
Well, I think Geno's thing with that pirouette was him trying to, because he'd come back so far, he was trying to escape the danger then, wasn't he? Just try and pirouette out of it. No, mate, but it's never going to happen.
With that also, I think he did it this game as well, and he got picked off. But then he'll do that, and then sometimes he'll panic, and then his brain will switch in and go, oh, I should have just thrown it away. I'll throw it away now into the hands of the other team. And it's like, them little things concern me a lot. Like I said, I'm not like, I was like at the start of the season, not fully invested into the season. It's wait and see, sit back, enjoy it. We've done better than anyone would have thought we would have done. We were potentially going to get a winning record. We should against the Rams, because they've shut up shop and they're kind of chilling. Better than anyone's expected. But by doing that and not being so invested in, oh, we need to make the playoffs, we really need to make the playoffs, is maybe I've been able to look at it from a different angle to everyone else, because I've sat back and I've just watched it without getting overly passionate about what I'm watching. I'm just watching, like seeing what I'm watching, and being able to think about it logically. And for me, my skeptical side, the things he showed me the back end of the season really concern me going forward. And especially if you're going to pay him 35, what people need to remember is what we were paying Russ and what hamstrung us for many a season. And you've still got to remember something that we'll get onto. I'm going to get onto at some point, is we've still got Pete Carroll as a head coach, and he plays one certain style. And these last couple of games where Geno struggled, it's been a certain style what we haven't seen at the first half of the season. But for whatever reason, these last 5 games, we've gone to a different style. Boring, methodical. Everyone knows what we're going to do, and everything breaks down. And look how bad he played. What if next year, for whatever reason, Pete decides, no, we need to go boring and methodical again? Then Geno's going to suck all season.
The thing with this is, it's like Geno. Sorry to cut in there, mate.
No, it's all right.
This whole Geno thing is where people are saying pay the man. Fine, pay the man, but remember, you're paying a man that has been on backup wages for so long that you cannot pay him like an elite QB. If you go in and like Pez just said, we pay him 35 mil for a season. That's Russell Wilson at near enough elite level money. Now, don't get me wrong, Geno was like by numbers at a cracking season. He's 100 and something yards away from breaking the all-time Seahawks throwing yard record in the season, isn't he? That was previously held by Russ.
Something like that, yeah.
Or something like that. I can't remember. I saw the stat.
I know he's joined Russ's 4,000 yards club.
Yeah, so if he throws that another 100-odd yards, I think it's like 180-odd, which he'll be hard pressed to do based on his previous or last couple of games. then he's going to be the overall leader or something. But this could be, as Pez and I have said, and I keep saying consistency, you can't be consistent for one season. If we pay him that money, we've basically hamstrung ourselves to be with him, because we're like, right, we're paying you all this money, crippling ourselves for other things that we need, when we don't need to. All we need to do is go, Geno, this is our offer. It's a mid to low range offer because it's more than you're getting paid last year. It's not as good as what some other desperate team may offer you. Also, though, bear in mind there's quite a few QBs in this draft class that people take a punt on. Oh, and by the way, if you don't sign it, then free agents this year are, and don't laugh at all of these, Tom Brady, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Jimmy Garoppolo, Teddy Bridgewater, Daniel Jones, Case Keenum, Mason Rudolph, Jacoby Brissett, who's proven that he can do bits if needs be, Joe Flacco, the Red Rocket, Mike White, the Taylor Heineke, Lamar Jackson. The list is going on and on and on. So if he goes, I want 35 mil, at that point you go, two fingers, cheers, mate. I really appreciate what you did for us last season by getting us 8-9, 9-8, and then dropping us out of the playoffs. But there's a ton of other ones out there that we could probably sign as a gap year interim to just do a job for us whilst we're rebuilding.
Just go for one of them rookies. If we got CJ Stroud, and CJ Stroud came to the NFL and played like he did against Georgia, serious kid.
Yeah, but
I've been watching about him. He didn't need help against Georgia. He was doing everything on his own. He literally just ran that shit on his own. And that's something that a lot of people, like draft stuff, I've been listening on him, is that's the stuff he's not been showing. And I don't want Bryce Young. If I swear to fucking Jesus Christ, if our pick came in and it said Bryce Young, I'd say, please give Geno 35 as well, please, just so I can watch the atomic bomb go off. Because I think that, like, Bryce Young's got some really nice qualities, but I think he gets snapped in half after one season. You know my Kyler hate for the whole time we've been doing this podcast, James?
Oh, I do.
The Bryce Young hate would just start.
Well, hopefully we don't go in that direction then. Yeah.
I'm still in favour of taking a defensive player, but yeah, before we go too far down this Geno rabbit hole and start talking picks.
The defensive player is the likely thing, but just say we get, what's the best seed we can get, the second seed or the third seed. I'd like to look at a CJ Stroud just on the quarterback situation. But if we can get Anthony Richardson in the second, at the start of the second, because we've pretty much got one of the high second rounders, I'd 100% take him. Geno re-signs on a club-friendly deal. Mm-hmm. Anthony Richardson, because Geno's got some qualities what he can learn off throwing the football and managing and stuff like that. That's what Anthony Richardson, in my opinion, needs to get better at. So that tandem would be heaven for us. Mm. But that's for the off-season. One last thing about Geno, what I wanted to chuck in there, my main concern is, I can't remember, someone in the Discord said it, or it might have been my brother, dropped a thing in there during the game a couple of games ago and said, why does it seem like Geno and DK having zero chemistry? It's like it's almost like as the season's gone on, their chemistry's gone down the toilet. It's like DK doesn't get up for Geno like he was at the start. So then I thought in this Jets game, I'm going to watch this. Now, this whole thing, and this is the thing I said before we recorded I want to see what your opinion is on it, is obviously everyone's wanking Sauce off. It's like, oh, Sauce, he locked down DK. DK had him banged to rights on nearly every single route. There was a couple where Sauce, I'm not taking away his talents before anyone starts bitching at me about, you don't know, shut up. It's about the fact that he got done multiple times on routes. he had DK a couple of times in the end zone. There was one what was DK's fault because he didn't have his hands in the right position. Again, a weird miscue. It's like if you're on rhythm with each other, you know, like your hands aren't on the other side of your body, you know where it's coming. But there was at least two, what I can remember. There might have been a third, but there was definitely two where DK had done Sauce bang to rights. And the ball, like someone in the pod said, he just needs to go up and high point the football. Well, it's pretty hard to high point the football when it's a couple of yards past him.
Mm.
Like DK's in, because that's what Sauce is great at, is sticky. He's sticky, so he bottles up a guy in his route, slowing him down, especially
he's been elite in man coverage. This year, in man coverage, Sauce has been absolutely elite. Oh. He has been locked down.
Do you know what, though? Do you know what? For a rookie, he gets veteran leniency. He gets what Richard Sherman, what Revis, and all them lot got after a couple of years. Rookies don't normally get away with what he's been getting away with all year because he holds like a bitch. But
can I just highlight one thing? You know, you're talking about DK doing him. Look at the DJ Dallas, the sort of, shuffle pass from Geno to Dallas. Look what Derek Young did to Sauce on the sideline. It is a thing of beauty. He turns him inside out, and Sauce doesn't know where he is, and he just burns him. If Geno had seen that, he was in the open. It's mega. So I'll pop it on our group later.
So back to the thing. So there was a couple of times, definitely two times, and it was overthrown him. And then I was like, he has a point here. And the difference is, in the past couple of years, if that was Russ, DK would have been pissed. But he's like, I'm a leader, I'm a team guy, so I'm just going to be neutral. Whereas I heard on pods where DK was just like, yeah, it's just one of them days, Pete going in the presser, it's just one of them days, and he took it really well. Dugar was the one who mentioned on his podcast, DK, you like, he's the one guy who will talk after a win. I tried having a conversation with him, and he's like, I understand the vibe. He just gave me the vibe. I don't want to talk. To me, shows fuming. And normally when DK's fuming, last year, remember when him and Russ had that weird, where Russ just would ignore him and DK was raging. Well, it's like we're seeing it again. And it's like, so everyone's overhyping Sauce. It's going to come into when we talk about, obviously, Sauce versus Tariq in the defensive rookie of the year conversation. But it's like everyone was like, oh, Sauce locked him down. But I was just a bit like, well, no, Sauce did some really good things. Don't take it away from him. Fucking what a talent. But DK had him done so many times, but Geno overthrew him so many times.
I think this is a really interesting point because, and on this, and I'll bring something up that might interest a few people here, but I have been massively impressed with DK's sort of the way he handles himself this year, because, and I was going to bring it up when you said it there, I think it would have been very interesting to see how he would have reacted with Russ being his quarterback this year if he posted these kind of stats. And you're talking about this sort of link up between Geno and DK not really being there. I think it's there, but it's only half there. It's there in the sense that this season, with one game left, he's got a career high in receptions of 87 since he's been here in Seattle. He's got 1,800 yards receiving, which is
1,008 yards.
1,008 yards, sorry. Yep, which is about 300.
I'll give an extra 792 yards, mate.
which compared to last year, he only got 967 yards receiving and 75 receptions. So I think the connection with DK is there in between the red zones, but he's only got 6 touchdowns this season. Last season he had 12. In 2020 he had 10, and in his rookie year he had 7. So he's got half the amount of touchdowns that he has this season so far with one game left that he had last season, and he had 10 in 2020, so almost half of that season as well. And it does feel like that in the end zone, Geno just really is struggling to find DK in the red zone. He's really struggling to find him in the end zone. That connection that he has with DK in the end zone isn't there. In between the 20-yard lines, it's there, and you can see it's there in another 1,000-yard receiving and a career high number of receptions. But he's really struggling to get him involved down in the red zone and in the end zone. So, in terms of what you're saying about his character and how would he have handled it this year with so many, so few touchdowns that he's being used to, would we be seeing him flipping out on the sideline the way that he would have been sort of last year? Potentially, it's an interesting sort of maybe a sign of his personal development that he isn't doing that, and he's only got 6 touchdowns this season compared to 12 last season. So it's an interesting point with DK. And like I say, I have been massively impressed with his character this year. But yeah, that is an interesting one. Ken Walker, let's get to this running game, because me and you, Pez, on this corrupt recording that we did the other week, which no one will ever hear thanks to Skype. I mentioned on that podcast as one of my talking points as we were. Good point. Yeah, as we were kind of kicking off at the team and saying what's gone wrong, and that was going to be the title of the pod. What's gone wrong? Blah 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 blah. That for me, a key part of our offense this year, with Shane Waldron and Geno, is the run pass option, or RPO, as you Madden players, and that will know it by. And to run an explosive run pass option scheme, and a play action scheme, for me, it's built around a really good running game. And in the kind of stretch of games that we saw after the Bucks game, and up to the Chiefs game, because Ken Walker had 100+ yards in the Chiefs game, the running game absolutely wasn't there. I think it was about 40-something yards was about our highest sort of rushing yardage total in a single game between the Bucks game and the Chiefs game, in that sort of 5-6 week kind of span. And now Ken Walker's back. He's pretty healthy again. And even DJ Dallas, your man, I'm sure you're going to give a little bit of praise to, Pez, as well. But 133 yards on the ground for Ken Walker against the Jets, 43 for DJ Dallas, and a nice little 55 yards receiving yards for DJ Dallas as well on the game. So, or pretty much 100 yards from scrimmage from DJ. And the offense was firing, and it was working, and the tight ends were getting involved. As I was saying, the tight ends were getting open, the receivers were getting open, the running game was working because we were able to sell the RPO game, because teams knew that we didn't have Tony Jones in there, again, with all due respect to Tony Jones. We didn't have him in there. We didn't have guys like that who were stopgap filling guys who defensive coordinators will know, well, they're not going to run the ball sort of 15, 20, they're not going to hand it off 15, 20 times to Tony Jones in that game. So we don't need, they're not selling the RPO, so that we know it's going to be a pass 9 times out of 10. Back into this game with the Jets, with Ken Walker, when we run play option, as a defensive coordinator, you're not going to know if it's a run or a pass, because we can sell that, because you have to respect the run game with Seattle with Ken Walker in there. And all of a sudden the offense came to life again, and we found our rhythm again on offense. So I think we've missed Ken Walker so badly when he's been out injured. And even Tyler Lockett, I thought, I mean, fair play to him, as we've talked about, at the brutal reality of this sport already in this podcast. I mean, from a broken hand, I think he had, didn't he, to come back and be playing football again just 2 weeks later for the Seattle Seahawks, albeit only getting 15 receiving yards, but quite frankly, the fact that he was even out there and suited up was unbelievable.
Tyler got more yardage than DK, though, and that's the thing. And Tyler got two receptions, 15 yards. DK got 1 reception for 3, but I'm pretty sure DK was targeted more.
Potentially, yeah.
I just don't think DK could catch, and it was covered. No. Covered in sauce.
He was covered in sauce. I like that. I like that analogy. But what I was going to finish that statement with is, and we're going to get it on the flip side of the ball on the defense, because there's storylines with this potential honor on both sides of the ball in this game. But did Ken Walker's game against the Jets maybe hand him the Offensive Rookie of the Year award over maybe a Garrett Wilson on the opposite side? Essentially.
Yes. You go for it, Josh, because I've spoken enough as it is.
I wasn't going to say anything, mate. I've not been able to say anything all pod, so I thought I'd let you crack on. He's off now.
He's literally walked off now.
I think if he breaks 1,000 rushing yards in the next game, offensive rookie of the year is his.
Mm-hmm.
He's shown so much of what he can do, and he's shown what he brings to this team. I think he should get it already, but I think to solidify it, it's got to be break that 1,000 yards rushing next week, this week even. Maybe score another TD, and it's all his. Bring his average up, because his average is like 4.7 yards per carry. But yeah, I think he's got to be one of the front runners. He has to be.
No, he has to be.
Because let's face it.
I mean, he's still the fastest ball carrier in the NFL. The very first play from scrimmage, and he took it almost to the house. I mean, and to that point as well, I think, and I hate to do this so early in the pod, even though we're kind of 36 minutes into the podcast already, but it feels early to do this. But I think Tariq Woolen may have well won the Offensive Rookie of the Award for Ken in that game for shutting down Garrett Wilson for 3 receptions and 18 yards as well. So I think Tariq Woolen's played a massive part in potential, if he does win that from that game, helping him out there. But oh my God, man, we keep raving about him. And if Ken doesn't win it, I'll be very surprised. But DJ Dallas as well.
It's evident when he's. I was going to say, this is literally what I was about to lead into. It's evident when Ken is on the field and we have that running game, and like you said as well, with the RPOs, that it frees up space for other running backs.
Yeah.
So when Ken's on, they're now going to be looking at it going, that's got to be a run. It's got to be a run. It's got to be a run. But then when he chucks someone like DJ Dallas in, they go, Ken's not on the field. It's probably going to be a pass play, which is giving DJ Dallas room to move through. I mean, the little shuttle pass from Geno to DJ, and I thought that was a fantastic play. It was a great bit of awareness and a brilliant burst from DJ. He had some amazing plays as well where he just bullied people in the run. He was running head to head with people, and he was taking 2 people with him every time. I think he's really started coming to his own as this his number 2 running back. I'd be intrigued to see who we draft this year, who's going to be number 3 or potentially number 2 ahead of him.
I was going to.
Travis Homer ain't going to stay there. Fullbacks is fine for, mate. I
was going to bring that up because in the pod me and James did, I said that. I said if everyone was pissed that Ken Walker got drafted early, wait till the next running back comes up early. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Yeah. Because just bringing in these last couple of games we've missed. So, love seeing DJ do his thing. But do you know what? Before he got injured in that Rams game, it annoyed me. Because when Ken disappeared, what happened to all these running backs and their playing styles? Because do you know what happened? DJ Dallas and Travis Homer reverted back to who they were last season. There was no bullying, there's no nothing, but then Ken comes back with DJ, and DJ's running head down. It's almost like they have they scheme the running backs up how Ken runs the ball, and they all follow suit. But then it doesn't make sense because fucking DJ Dallas is so good at running straight through. I can't remember.
But he's not elite. He's not elite. You look at when he had to come and deputise for Carson, he did all right. He had a couple of receiving. Was it Penny maybe? He had a couple of receiving TDs. He ran all right. But if you're going to be a defensive coordinator and you're going to look at the Seahawks and go, right, so let's have a look at their roster. They've got DK, they've got Tyler, they've got Noah Fant. So all these receiving threats. Who's their running back? Oh, Ken Walker's injured. They've got DJ Dallas and Travis Homer. Just fucking ignore them. It's fine. Give them 5 yards. Doesn't matter.
I disagree.
But when Ken's in, a defensive coordinator has got to look at all these weapons, and then they've also got to go, and Ken Walker. Oh, right, we need to scheme for that. But then it's a matter of you take Ken out of the game. But that's what happened in this game. You took Ken out of the game, and it's like the Jets went, it's DJ Dallas. Don't worry about him too much. And then DJ starts breaking off for runs and starts bullying people through gaps, and he gets himself in decent receiving positions. That's the beauty. That's why people pay big bucks for an elite running back. That's why San Francisco have gone out there, and paid for Christian McCaffrey because he brings that extra level to their game.
I understand where you're coming from. I disagree. I don't disagree on the talent level. I agree on that. I disagree on teams being like he's not good enough on his own. Like what I just said then is it's like this team, because how he's running now is what you saw when he was in college. Like the burst through the gap. He's not the quickest, but he gets the burst through the gap and he's gone. You saw it in that shovel pass. I know, like, obviously he had more time and more space, but you saw it also when he just shot through the line, found his gap and went straight through it, bullying people. But then as soon as Ken disappears, they like put the reins back on him and go, oh, just be pretty and just be cute. And
they don't put reins on him. They just can't perform because they're a sole focal point. People know if they run, they're going to get swallowed up.
Yeah, but this is what I'm trying to say. It's almost like if Ken's not there, they play the running backs completely different. They don't play DJ or Travis like they do when Ken's on the field. They revert back to this safe style of running back, what they've always been like for previous years. But then Ken comes back and they're like, all right, everyone go and be aggressive. And it's like, they've shown enough now. They've shown enough. They're both aggressive. What the fuck are you doing with these players? Like, that's why I can't, like, I understand where you're coming from. And I'm not like saying you're completely wrong in what you're saying. It's just, I don't think it's them. I think it's the way they use when Ken's not there. They're proving they can do what Ken does. And it reverts back to, I think, a bit of Pete. And when certain players on their team disappear, he goes safe. Like you said about Derek Young. Like, I'll bring it up now whilst we're talking about it. Like you said about Derek Young burning sauce. And then he did, what's that move? Where, like, he did a sweep. So he was like the dummy for like a jet sweep. Yeah. It's like, give him the fucking jet sweep, man. You shot yourselves in the foot. Like, you shot yourselves in the foot. You're up by this many points. Give Derek Young a fucking chance. But no, we can't possibly do that. We've got to play it safe. When Tyler disappeared, we can't possibly pass to any other fucking player on this football field except DK. That falls apart because we're just targeting one guy who they know where we're going to go, and Goodwin's injured. So all these other fucking receivers, let's just chin them all off. Like, it angers me. Like, I saw Derek Young going through, and it worked out a decent play in the end. I think it was a decent play, but I was like, give this kid a chance. And in my head, I was thinking, great, we've got to hope that the Lions go and beat the Packers in Lambeau, something they've not done ever or for many a year. I wish, if that was the fucking case, we had one more game and let Derek Young and all these players who haven't had a chance play them, see what they can do.
They're rookies. Like, you say they've not had a chance, but this is, unless you are an elite player coming out of the draft, you are not going to start or be factored into a team's game plan. All right, we're looking at Derek Young. We said it earlier, but we used to, but we don't anymore because the team, the league is stacked with studs now. Okay, that's why people draft players so high to get that missing piece. That's why we took a running back in the second round, because we didn't have one that we could rely on. So we took the stud, arguably joint first, with Breece Hall, a running back in this, the stud in this draft. But with that, you're not going to get people like Derek Youngs. You look at Bo Melton. Everyone was like, "Oh my God, he was brilliant when he came out of." I can't remember what school he was now. Rutgers. There you go. Inconsequential college for football.com. They're not going to get game time. They're not going to be factored in. As much as we love them personally, and we love DJ Dallas, they're not going to be factored in because the levels are, you can game plan around someone like Ken Walker because you can just give him stuff to do and he will make shit happen. Someone like DJ Dallas, who has been given the reins before, is a level or two below, and he's proven that he is not that game wrecker running back like your Penny when he's healthy, your Chris Carsons, your Ken Walkers. So you have to be more conservative with him. If he breaks one off when he's given the reins, mega. But again, prove it consistently. And he can't, because he has these games where he's given the exact same gaps. I'm really pissing Pez off here, but he's given the exact same gaps as Ken Walker, but he can't do it. Travis Homer's the exact same. We spent all last season saying Travis Homer was shit because he runs into people. Like, he's basically a butt fumble waiting to happen. But this season, he seems to have improved. That doesn't mean that I would game plan for him being my running back one. Not a chance. I'd game plan with going, I've not got any more running backs. Travis, here's some limited routes to run. Here's some limited sort of assignments to block. Leave it at that. Let the big boys play after that. If DK goes down, we bring Derek in. Derek won't get the same routes as DK because he's a rookie. We'll give him a couple of prove-it routes so he can run them, but he won't get game plan for.
So I'm not getting annoyed at you. I'm getting annoyed by what you're saying because you're proving a point. You're proving my point correct. Like, you're proving me and my point right. And this is what pisses me off about.
I get it. I get what you're saying.
This is what pisses me off, because everything you've said is it exemplifies Pete Carroll as a fucking 70-year-old idiot. Like.
Welcome back. We Talk Seahawks fans. We're down the Pete Carroll hawk hole. We were going to say this for another pod, weren't we?
Honestly, no. Look, this was the last pod that never came out. So I'm going to bring my annoyance here, right?
Right, hang on, I'm going on mute.
Right. We've literally had our own destiny in our hand. And everything you've said, Josh, I totally get it. If you're a team who's dead and buried or comfortably in the playoffs, not a team who's fighting for the playoffs, then you just play anyone. We used to do it. Paul Richardson, Ricardo Lockett, all these receivers. When Pete was younger and he had a bit of ambition in himself, he used to use everyone. Now, I don't get it. It's like Tyler goes down and they just concede defeat by putting the reins on DJ Dallas and Travis Homer and not letting them run like they're proving they can run behind Ken to stay aggressive and stay attacking, because then everything breaks down. Conservative, predictable, shite. So it's not
only on the We Talk Seahawks podcast could I start a segment 10 minutes ago asking you whether Ken Walker has won Offensive Rookie of the Year, to be sat here 10 minutes later, cross-legged, cross-armed, listening to Pez say absolute shite on a rant. Honestly.
I've missed you guys. It's been such a quiet December. I've been working my ass off. I've been looking forward to venting. And Pez obviously, he's an angry man. He's had a really busy December. That's what it is. He just needs to get it all out. The fact as well that he's currently looking a bit like the shoe bomber with his hat over his eyes, that big beard. I've been thinking this is reverse came on video, mate.
This has been bottling up.
You can't
missed
tell,
too many weeks.
You can't tell. I'll tell you what, it's glad that you clarified that made you angry 10 minutes ago, because we would never have known. So good lad for clarifying that up as well.
Pete.
I dread to ask you this question now, because the offensive rookie of the one took 10 minutes on a run. So did Tariq Woolen win defensive rookie of the year from this performance against the Jets?
I'm going to start this one. It's not a run.
Didn't you start the last one? No, that was me. Okay, you just finished it.
Pez is getting his money's worth tonight.
I didn't even talk. I've missed it. I've
just walked away for all my valid points. Don't worry, I'm going to go and get a drink now.
I didn't even talk about the running backs. I had so much useful fucking information, and then a pin went in my head. Josh, it's always Josh. He always sets me off. He always says the right things to set me off.
You're welcome.
But anyway, defensive rookie of the year. I've said it multiple times on social media. Spoke to various different people about this battle, and simply for me, this game, I said to you guys, this game's going to be the game to decide it. And with the way everyone's reacting, it's unfortunately, because I disagree, it's in Sauce's favour. Anyone who listens to this, and I will happily promote their podcast because he's the man with the stats. Go and listen to the man-to-man and listen to Michael Dugard talk about the comparison between Tariq Woolen and Sauce Gardner. Sauce is ahead of him in a couple of categories, what you'd say are important, by 2 or 3%. Tariq Woolen, to counter that, has 3 times the amount of interceptions that Sauce has. That alone, for anyone who is unbiased, and we all know this league's very biased to the national favourites, that alone wins Tariq Young. In my opinion, that should win him.
Tariq Young.
Tariq Young.
Who's Tariq Young?
He can't get over Tariq Young. Honestly.
See, all this.
Right, anyway, don't get me
sidetracked. Get people's name right.
Don't get me sidetracked, because I'm just going to quickly get this out and I'm going to stop talking, because I think I'm going to have a migraine. So, Tariq Woolen, that should win him it. But for me personally, all these media guys, they talk about draft status. They love it. He was an undrafted guy, and look how classy he is. Right? Undrafted. He's only a 5th. And they love it. But then when it comes to a context of something like this, they forget about all that. Like, Tariq Woolen's only a 5th rounder. And then it comes to the important thing, like, who should be defensive? Well, of course it's Sauce, because he's the 1st rounder. No. Sauce Gardner.
It's pick bias. I've said it before.
Yeah, Sauce Gardner, in my opinion, shouldn't win it, because this is what he should be doing anyway. Do you know what? If anything, he's underperformed for his draft status because he's not picked any interceptions. Oh, wow. You padded a lot of balls off. Seahawks fans, we all know a guy who did 20-odd pass breakups, who's now on the Jags and doesn't even start for the Jags anymore. Shaquille Griffin, meant to be the next Richard Sherman with all his past defenses. And what did we say then? What did the whole national media say about him? It's great having loads of pass breakups, but where are the interceptions? That's what you need to do, improve your game. So Sauce, in my opinion, is actually underperforming on his draft status. Tariq Woolen, to be a 1-year cornerback in the college football from wide receiver, to then come into the league, to not even expect to start, to then dominate and lead in some of the most significant categories at the cornerback position. If he doesn't win, yet again, we're just going to see this NFL media bias on Sauce, because look at it like that point. Sauce is underperforming from his draft capital because he hasn't got the picks.
Mm-hmm.
What happens next year? What happens next year when people get tape on him, figure out brilliant talent, probably won't. He's probably going to extend to be one of the best corners in the league. But what if people figure him out? Because that's what happened to Shaquille Griffin. I know they might not be on the same talent level. Loads of pass breakups and then just got destroyed.
Mm-hmm. For me, Sauce will win it. With everything that you've said, I completely agree. And the other complete obvious reason why Sauce will win it, he's in New York. The market's there. Seattle's a smaller market than New York, and plus he'll moan about it on Twitter and complain and moan for votes and moan for like he did for his Pro Bowl.
Like the 6 near missed interceptions he had. Every time he got his fingertips on the ball, he's like, "Oh no!" If no one's watching the video, that's me putting my hands on my head, being over dramatic as fuck.
I hope to God no one was watching the video there. But I tell you what, you have killed 2 birds with 1 stone tonight. You've had a good old rant on this podcast that we all love you for, right? And that's the first bird that you killed. The second one is you've quite clearly discovered that the smoke detectors in your house don't work because the amount of smoke coming out your ears tonight. You go and after we've got off this podcast, go and change the batteries in your smoke detectors in your house because they don't work.
Oh man!
I tell you what, honestly, but hey, I love it, and I'm sure I'm going to probably set you off again here as we move to our next topic. Jordyn Brooks, obviously a bit of a somber topic as well because
God,
it's now torn his ACL in that contact injury that he had with the turf at Lumen Field. It was a really
with the what?
with the turf field.
Oh, is it a turf field?
To be fair, Josh, I just said turf in the context of the ground, really.
I'm let me check, because if it is, it just adds more weight to my argument that the NFL need to get away from turf fields. 1 second.
Whilst Josh is doing that, because I feel like I'm getting a vibe that I've got a bit too overexcited for our first pod back and I've talked a little bit too much. So I'm just going to say it's very upsetting. I just hope he comes back fully fit, because my scare is he going to have his sideline to sideline anymore?
Mm.
But that's been a big part of our defense, and with an ACL like that, because Pete wouldn't really clarify, because I think someone asked him in the presser, is it a full reconstruction? And as we all know, Pete loves to lie. Hesitated and went, let's not go that far yet. He's having tests and all.
It's going to go one of two ways, isn't it? Because with an ACL injury, you either lose that explosiveness completely, or you don't. I mean, you see it with Jameson Williams, of the Detroit Lions this year, the rookie receiver that they took had an ACL injury coming out of college. Obviously, the Lions still took a chance on him, and it looks like from the game time that we've seen from Jameson Williams that he still has maintained that explosiveness that he had. But sometimes
he's just not going to.
Go on, Pez.
He's not going to be able to sustain. Do you know what? We said it so many times on this podcast. The fear with Jordyn Brooks of the way he was playing would burn himself out. Mm. And do you know what? Everyone's like, he just landed funny. But how do we know that's not been there? Because he's been getting injured more recently in the last couple of weeks, been in and out of the games with upper body, lower body, all that shit. And he might just he knows he's the captain of the defense, essentially. So he's playing through it. And how do we know that's just not a breakdown of his body, because he's been so geared fucking 6 every single game?
I think it's always had to, because there's no rotation. I'm currently well into PFF mock draft territory now, and the big thing for me is that we need linebacker help. We need people that we can confidently rotate in and rotate out to do a job, because now, and you're probably going to bring us on to this, James, just a quick sidebar. Seahawks, like Lumen Stadium, is field turf, the career killer that I have banged the drum of all season as just injuring players. And back. When you look at our linebacker room, without JB, that means that our middle linebacker 1 is now Cody Barton. Middle linebacker 2 is going to be either your man John Radigan,
Hall of Fame,
Hall of Famer, Tanner Muse,
not the band,
a collective who comes out there, or special teams captain and part-time fullback Nick Ballore, unless he's injured. Like, how can you function a 3-4 defense with one middle linebacker that's got any experience in the league? You know, and fair play, we've been hot and cold on Cody, but he's been all right. He's done a job when they've literally just set him as a blunt object and told someone to do something. He's done it. But now he's got to cover JB's role. And my big concern is that JB does so much as the signal caller. So we've lost our signal caller, as a sideline to sideline defender, as one of the first people to every contact, that I think Barton's head is going to explode. He may prove us wrong, and I really hope he does, because I'm starting to like him a lot more for what he's doing, just the simple stuff. But it's his supporting cast. Watch us go back to like a 4-3 for the next game.
They might have to. They may well have to. And like I say, the whole topic around this point was going to be, so, and we won't go into it too much because obviously we've got the off season and, as you said, the draft coming up as well. But with Jordyn Brooks now potentially maybe even set to miss some of the start of next season's regular season, depending on how long this ACL takes for him to fully heal from. Does this potentially throw a bit of an off-season spanner into the works in terms of the plan that we probably were all sort of presumed that we were going to follow? Because now it's like, do you draft
second round linebacker?
I was going to say it because for me, I don't really want us to burn a first round. I don't think, as far as I'm aware, I don't think there's too many linebacker talents that would be worth burning a first round pick for in terms of the needs that we need anywhere on defense. So I think I'm more in the camp of if the plan should be maybe now to just go and sign a priority free agent linebacker potentially, rather than burn one of our high draft picks that we've sort of worked hard for this year. Well, the Denver Broncos have worked hard for us this year. When we could go and get a stud prospect like Jalen Carter or a CJ Stroud if you want to go quarterback like Pez has gone. So I'd just be interested to see how this injury now potentially affects how we operate in the off season. What do you think, Pez?
Yeah, without seeing the free agent list, because like we said, we'll talk about this in the off season. But yeah, 100% now. Josh proved it. Look at the linebackers we've got.
It's scary, isn't it?
And there's some nice. There's some first look. There's some nice linebackers. It won't be the very top one. That'll be just stupid because we need that D line. Realistically, even though it's quarterback, my perfect situation, like I said, is keep Geno cheap, get Anthony Richardson in the start of the second in that pick. But then first two picks, say goodbye to your O-line. Like these people are talking, there's a nice centre, there's a couple of O-line guys. No, I'll see you later. That top pick probably be defensive line because that's one of our massive needs. But that second pick in the first, this is where, without seeing it fully, this is where the whole trading back situation will come in. And my biggest fear is they'll trade back from our first pick to gain more picks
and fill out a roster
and then miss the talent, unless there's a very quarterback needy team and we only drop a couple of positions and the board looks well for us to get like a Anderson or someone like that. But Anderson's going top five, and that's my fear now, that this Jordyn Brooks injury has thrown a spanner because middle linebacker now goes second priority, in my opinion. Like,
yeah,
I've never prioritized O-line. So all these people who are thinking, oh, this might be the year to get a stud O-lineman, see you later, that's gone down the fucking toilet, mate.
Wouldn't have needed to.
We'll do a pod on our opinions.
Yes.
We'll do a pod on our opinions we need, because I've got some quite solid opinions on that.
Our next topic, Pez, I was going to bring in Quandre Diggs and a little bit of a late season revival potentially.
No, do you know what? Actually, I'll leave it till the end. I've got another little NFL rant.
Oh, lovely! A little NFL rant.
I think you two will be with me. On this one.
All right, okay. Hey,
it's going to be a 2-hour-long pod. I want to go to bed at some point, Pez.
Nice.
Quandre Diggs has been a model of inconsistency all season. Sorry, I'll do it quick so then Pez can get onto his rant. Model of inconsistency all season. He's finally starting to find his feet again after his season-ending injury last year. He looks like he's got a bit of his sprightliness back, and the pick that he got in this game, I rewatched about 3 times earlier because it was hilarious. It literally just came from the back of his cornerback. So middle of the field, took an arc around, came behind his cornerback, and just reached over to the side and picked that ball off like, oh, thanks, and then ran. It was a beautiful pick.
It was vintage
starting to show a bit more promise.
It was vintage Quandre, and we've been waiting for it all season practically. And quite frankly, I've got nothing to rant about if he's playing like. If that's how he's gonna. That's all we ask, and that's all we want from Quandre, and that's all we expect from Quandre. With the amount that we paid him, and kind of like that, we all expect him as this Pro Bowl safety that he is. Even though I still don't think he's had a Pro Bowl season. But yeah, he is having a bit of a late season revival. Because some whispers were that, or not whispers, but people's opinions potentially that he may be a cut candidate in the offseason, even though we just paid him. Do we try and trade him or whatever, get rid of Quandre because he's not playing? I think his late season form and I think, again, we've talked about it quite a lot on this podcast, that maybe he's just developing a bit more confidence now back in that leg that he took that injury on. Confidence in his abilities again, playing like the way he has been playing the last couple of weeks. I'm perfectly fine with Quandre Diggs as my free safety. So yeah, I like you said, Pez, I think he's warranted a mention on this podcast. I thought he played really well, and a big shout out to the defense in particularly as well, because before we get on to Pez's rant, we have talked about him there as well. But Cody Barton again, do you know what? Fair play to him. After Jordyn Brooks went out, I thought he carried the load pretty well. And we're going to need him to in the next game as well. But I thought he's picked up the load pretty well when needed to. Obviously, no touchdown allowed in the game against the Jets. That's I think the Cardinals was the only other game that we haven't allowed. That a defense hasn't allowed a touchdown in a game this season.
It was beautiful.
It was great.
Beautiful to see, wasn't it? The fact that we weren't just absolute cannon fodder for people. The amount of times we've all commented on it as well. The amount of times we've seen our team play so well on offense, and Geno's tried to carry us, but isn't that caliber of QB, and the defense just like a sieve just lets everything through. That was the thing that got me most excited about this. Ken was brilliant, and all that, but the defense just locked it down. And my boy Darrell Taylor.
I was just about to come on to
Great
Darrell
minds,
Taylor.
My friend.
Go on. I've got a stat for Quandre Diggs for you. Not done a stat this pod, so just a quick one. Suits his number on his shirt, but the complete list of NFL players with three or more interceptions in each of the last 6 seasons is Quandre Diggs.
Yeah.
Just Quandre.
He's just surpassed his half brother, who played for the Chargers.
I'm just watching the interception on repeat with a tear in my eye, because Jordyn Brooks was about to. He just shot through. If he didn't get chipped by the old lineman, he was about to take Mike White's head off if he got a clean run. All right,
oh dear,
brother.
We will miss him. But yes, Darrell Taylor, because we've talked about him a little bit on this podcast again in past few weeks, that his production has maybe not been there this season at certain points, and he was quiet for a lot of the season. But I tell you what, we're talking about a late season revival from Quandre Diggs. How about Darrell Taylor's late season revival as well? 2.5 sacks against the Jets, as well as the forced fumble. He had a sack against the Chiefs, sack against the Panthers, sack against the Rams. I think he's got 4 forced fumbles on the year now and 8.5 sacks, which is, compared to last season, he had 6.5 sacks. I don't know how many forced fumbles he had, but he's already beat his sack total by 2 with 1 more game to go. And how explosive did he look in that one way? Beat George Fant, where that sort of ripping up under move that he just swam under that arm. So explosive. If that was Nick Bosa, that would still be being shown on Good Morning Football. Well, maybe not this week because of the events that have transpired, but in terms of in general, that'd be being replayed all the time. If it was Nick Bosa, Myles Garrett, it's highlight reel edge play from Darrell Taylor. We all know he's got it, but we've said this year it's been up and down. But my word, he looks the real deal when he's playing like that.
Since we. And I'll admit it was me that did the editorial on this, on the full 10 yards season review or preview, and I highlighted DT. He has disappointed me so much, and then he seems to have these flashes. Just again consistency, but he seems to have these flashes where the last few games he has really flashed. This game in particular, like I said, that little move he does where he basically drags his finger along the turf to get under someone's arm, and that is I've said this is his bend, his explosiveness. It's impossible for people to mark out of a game. You can't block that, and the amount of strip sacks he gets, I find astonishing.
Yeah,
he just targets the ball every time. Now DT, I can't say much more because I'll take up more of the pod, and I love him.
It's playing like that. It's an exciting future with him and Uchenna Nwosu, but it's Can he maintain the consistency? Can he not blow as hot and cold? Can he just keep blowing hot more than he blows cold, if you know what I mean? That's my only thing with Darryl Taylor. Any words on him, Pez, before you get to your NFL rant?
It has been good, but so for a bit of context on why I'm a bit like excitable, because I've not recorded in ages, but also because probably had caffeine too late before the gym, before I came on the pod. So I'm
silly
still
mistake.
a bit jittery, but it just spikes my annoyance. This conversation about Darryl Taylor, just about this team, like listening to you talk about individuals and this team, and it's like, how is it? I understand. Like my stance has always been, I'm sitting back, seeing how the season's going. But why does it always take this team so long to get going to the point where they shot themselves in the foot? And I can guarantee you, I will call it now, James, because I've not said it.
There it is. Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, I was waiting for it.
I will call
it now.
The start of next year, it will be the same as all the other years. It will be slow. What happened to Darryl Taylor? What happened to this? What happened to that? And then when it's too late, all these figureheads will start turning up again. It's just it's like Groundhog Day. Rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. But other than that,
tell us the common denominator. What's the common denominator of that trend?
Pete Carroll.
No guesses for that answer. If anyone guessed that, dear me. To be fair,
you said done that as a giveaway. Can we talk? We spoke about the bias with Sauce versus Tariq. Can we talk about this fucking NFL and their blatant biasy? I'm going to go with it anyway.
You're going to talk about the game being flexed on Sunday.
Yes, I am going to talk about the game being flexed because fuck me. If that's not the NFL shining a big light going, we're going to give Aaron Rodgers the best opportunity to make the postseason, because for us, it's better for us to have Aaron Rodgers and the Packers than the Seahawks, Pete Carroll and Geno Smith in the postseason. So do you know what we're going to do? Because I'm pretty sure they stopped doing Thursday night football at the last week of the season to stop the exact thing they've done to the Seahawks happening. Because we were playing at the same time as each other. But do you know what we'll do? We'll put them at Sunday night football so the Lions know their own fate. So then they've got nothing to play for. Then the Packers have got the best opportunity they possibly fucking can to make the postseason by playing them after.
I get it to a certain extent, Pez, right? And I do get it. I do get what you're saying and about the Packers biasy, and I get it. I do get that. But on the flip side, with the story that Geno Smith has been this season, surely, as I can imagine in looking at this from a neutral perspective from across the NFL, surely as many people would want to see Geno Smith in the playoffs as they would Aaron Rodgers in the Packers because of the story that Geno Smith has been this season. And surely the NFL would want that story to be in the playoffs as well, wouldn't they? Because that's box office, Geno Smith in the playoffs with the... Is it not?
No. Not Aaron Rodgers. Because what happens in the playoffs is, I know so many people only watch playoff football. So worldwide market, people might know who the Seahawks are, but they don't know who Geno Smith is. But everyone who dips in and out of the NFL knows who Aaron Rodgers is. And it's the story of what they've been pressing for years because they know his retirement's coming up, is getting Aaron Rodgers another ring. That
Are you saying the NFL's scripted?
They might shut us down. I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all.
So Roger Goodell's.
I thought you were going to go down the route of. But it doesn't matter, Pez, because we fucked ourselves over that much anyway.
We did.
That we shouldn't be in this situation. But that will be for the postseason. That'll be fun.
That will be fun. And that was also on the agenda. But Josh, what do you think?
it's football. It's a money-making enterprise, and as much as we want to go down conspiracy theories, they might have just gone, we've got a gap that needs filling. Let's jiggle some people around. To be honest, it's one of those, like, and we've just said it, regardless of the result, we've done better than we thought we were going to do this season. But then midway through the season, we started doing worse than we thought we'd be. This, if we don't make it, it's just proof that this squad isn't ready. If we do make it, it's by the skin of our teeth, and we should never have got in this position. Either way, a performance review needs to take place of management to say, why were we in this position? Why did we start well, do badly, really start coming into our stride, and then all of a sudden we just tanked for a period of time? Because if we carried on the trajectory we were going, we would have been absolutely fine. We would have had a couple of losses, but we probably would have been playoff contention, absolutely fine. But then we didn't, because there was inconsistency. The coaching staff have come out and they've said, like, about Boye Mafe, he should play more snaps. Yes, he should, and that was evident from the start of the season. You know, the fact that we've only just started, well, this season we started using the tight ends, and to start the season it was fantastic, and then we stopped using them. And we lost loads of games. If you've got a good thing going as a coach and a team, don't change it until you need to change it. But we've got the Tinker Tailor, that's Pete Carroll, just finding everything, going, oh, you know what, I could tweak that maybe this week and it might work. Just stick with what you're fucking doing, mate. If it wins, it works. And that's it. So like, either way, that's coming from a coach's point of view. Like, if I've got my lads at rugby, same as when I coach my women, if I have them doing what I need them to do and we're winning games, I'm not changing anything. If I put someone in a position that they don't usually play, but they play amazing, I'm like, well, you're back there again next week. Sorry. You know, it's a simple philosophy, but it just seems something that is so abstract for Pete Carroll. It baffles me. So regardless of the result, regardless of who's flexed, couldn't give a toss. Let's just have a management review at the end of the season and go, where are we going from here? Because, my God, if Pete Carroll is in charge for these 2 first-round picks and he gets any say in what we get, I will be fucking furious. Because if he picks something, if for now he is, but at the end of the season, who knows? What if he retires?
Before we get into that, he's not going anywhere. So he is going to be picking.
Not after this season. Not after this season.
But look,
can we just cut what Josh just said there, and just say, for the 3 weeks we've missed, sorry, but this sums up exactly what we've seen. Because for the last 3 weeks, I'm cutting out the segment.
That's fine. Send it me as a soundbite.
Yep. And because essentially that is it. Josh just summed up what we've seen, because we haven't seen the tight end usage. We didn't see the tight end usage. We saw very predictable, because I spoke to James about it on the pod that would never be. Listen to the Kelsey Brother podcast, and they were talking about
brilliant.
No, they have a good point because they're both football. They have a good podcast, isn't it? They had a good point on it. What got me thinking of was teams who are in the hunt are dangerous because they're still trying to avoid the unpredictable. And that got me thinking. I was like, I just watched 2 losses back to back. Very predictable. We got shut down on offense so quickly compared to, Josh summed it up. Start of the season, different. When we went on that, was it 5-game losing streak? Very, very, very similar to stuff we've seen for the last couple of years. And then the Jets game, very different again.
Interesting. I can't wait for this off season. By the way, after this tonight, I'm ready for the off season.
I'm going to lock myself in the shed because I'm going to get so angry. Like, my missus won't be able to go to sleep.
I'm just going to get a voodoo doll of Josh. I'm just going to go.
You don't need to, mate. You generally won't need to. Just give me a subject and let me go, because I've got so many opinions. I've been really positive and optimistic and polite throughout this season, because I'm like, you know what? I've got no expectations. but
he's jumped off the fence with his knuckle dusters.
I was going to say, look at you giving yourself a little pat on the back. I've been really polite. I've done it, giving all the stars of the week awards to yourself.
Tell me I'm wrong. I get called the eternal optimist over every bit of social media. You're always polite, James. You were brought up well.
Positive Pez, the last positive Pez of the week of the season. You've got to have something lined up for us.
Why is it the last?
Oh, no, surely we can have a positive next week.
Well, the regular. Well, yeah. If we make the playoffs, then it's not going to be the last positive Pez. But for now,
if we don't make the playoffs,
but
positive to look forward to in the off season.
Yeah, but in the context of a football game, I mean, it's the last. It could be the last positive Pez.
Yes, Josh.
Yeah. See, I'm a lyricist.
You're such a dour young man.
I know what I'm talking about. Fucking star of the week over there. Yeah, Pez has just told you I'm a lyricist. I'm a poet, man. I know what I'm talking about. Right. Positive Pez in the context of it potentially being the last football game for the Seattle Seahawks this year. The last positive Pez in that sense. What have you got for us?
Where's my jingle?
Positive Pez.
Positive Pez. What are you positive about this week? Did you forget the words?
I didn't forget the words. I'm waiting for your.
Josh, you were doing so well.
I was doing. I got it. I nailed that.
You both synced together on mine. You were perfect, and then Josh gave up.
I'm sick of it. You always say Josh is the one who's done really well, and I'm the one who's out of cheat. It's never the other way around. We're starting to point fingers now.
You're going to have to pre-record this, guys. Right. But anyway,
get to it.
Positives this week.
We're getting sacked, Pez. That's it. James had enough.
Positives this week. I'll take the hat off for the end of the show.
Oof. It's a big one.
So, Ken Walker's going to hit his 1,000 yards rushing. 2 touchdowns. Going for this. Just standard Ken in positive Pez. In Dream World. Baker Mayfield's going to get sacked at least. In my head, I've got 4 or 5 times. I think 4 or 5 times he's going to get his ass because last game of season, they've got nothing to play for. He's just going to start bombing it. So he's going to get sacked 4 or 5 times and he's going to get picked off. He's going to help Tariq solidify his defensive rookie of the year with 2, not 1, 2 interceptions.
2 for Tariq. Okay.
2 for Tariq. Tariq Young is going to. No, I'm not going wild. Chill out. Tariq Young's going to
catch a ball.
Yes. He's going to get 2 targets in this game and catch at least 1 for a touchdown. Sorry. I'm joking. And do you know what? I take it back. Tariq's going to get 1 interception because Kobe Bryant's going to get the other.
Oh, yeah.
I was waiting for that.
I've got to finish the season off with my boy. Had some nice coverages in that Jets game. He's
You got more chance of Cody Barton, I think.
Kobe Bryant, mate. First in the lucky last of the regular season.
Do you know what? I'll give you it. It could be the last one, so I'll let you have your moment there with Kobe. As much as I hate you that you've taken one away from Tariq and setting the record, yeah, fine. Kobe can have one, I guess, because he's done all right this season.
Next season, I'm making a spreadsheet of his predictions, and I'm just going to tick the ones that come true every week, and we'll tot them up.
You won't have to edit that spreadsheet very much, I don't think. Is that everything, Pez?
For new listeners, positive Pez isn't that accurate. It's pipe dreams, but we like to indulge it because if they do come true, then mega.
I had a good stretch. I had a good stretch. I had like 4 games where I was on fire, and then
so did Darryl Taylor.
And then set myself on fire.
Up. Yeah, hot and cold.
3 out of 17 ain't bad. That's the lyric, innit? No.
We're gonna win by 3 scores as well.
Do you know what? If that's everything, Pez, I'm going to say that I just have a bad feeling that the Rams will do us. I really do, because these kind of games where I'm not back. This is just my opinion. I can obviously see us winning the game, but there's a bit nagging away at me that just You know, when you go into these kind of games with your team, when everything is on the line for your team, there's nothing on the line for the other team. Just hold it, Pez. There's nothing on the line for the other team. It's the Rams. We all hate the Rams. They hate us. It's their last game of the season. Whatever happens, there's no playoff implications for them, thank God. We've already beat them once. This is our chance to sweep them. They're just going to be. They've got nothing to lose. They've got 60 more minutes of football. Their last chance to put something on tape. Their last chance. And you talking about us having the chance to knock Green Bay potentially off the playoffs and stuff like that. Well, if you're a Rams,
metaphorical shotgun.
Well, don't point it at me. If you're a Rams fan or if you're a Rams player, how sweet would it be to beat the Seahawks and knock them, whatever happens in the Lions, but just to absolutely put a nail in the coffin in the Seahawks season, as they've done before. Do you know what I mean? It's just a nagging feeling.
That's not the Seahawks
just
way.
Baker throwing
That's
bombs.
not the Seahawks way.
Sign me when you have the chance.
That's not the Seahawks way. The Seahawks way is to beat the Rams convincingly. Everyone being like, why couldn't we be like that earlier in the season? This wouldn't be happening. And then the Lions lose by a last-minute field goal to knock us out of the playoffs.
That's actually quite
Do you not see what's going to happen? Do you know what? I could almost see that Lions and Packers game going to overtime just to keep us up and then get done in the last 10 seconds of fucking overtime to then kill us. We're going to destroy the Rams because Baker Mayfield, if you did not watch against the Chargers, is horrendous. He is shit.
Well, no, keep it positive. He's positive.
That is shit. Positive.
He's positively shit.
I was wondering where you were going with that.
And to think, Josh, if we had it your way, if you were John Schneider, he'd have been playing for the Seahawks this year, and you know it, my friend. It's an absolute disgrace. But this is what I mean, though. You know fine well that as Josh sits there now grinning, Baker Mayfield's going to go off for 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, and I'm going to have to come on here next week and deal with it and see what he has to say and take every bit of, because I don't know, I've just got a nagging feeling that could happen.
Yeah, but you the thing is though, you're in the over-exaggerated land of positive Pez right now. So he's just been sacked 5 times. How's he getting 400 yards?
Let's eat this up. Come on, Pez. I'll have your positivity. Just give it to me, baby.
All right, we rounded yours in 5.
Rounded mine at 5. If you're coming from Preston, maybe 5 a.m.
Merry Christmas.
Back door's always open.
Happy New Year. I hope you've all had a good one, because the We Talk Seahawks is back to ruin your week. Deary me, we are back, and thank you everyone, as always, for somehow deciding to tune in with us every week.
I hope people really enjoy us for our absolute shit talk over our actual analysis.
That's what everyone tells me. Oh, also, we've got to say Happy New Year, everyone.
I just said Happy New Year.
Oh, did you? I don't listen to you, James. Sorry.
Right, I'm butting in because James has got too much of a big head, thinking he's a master lyricist.
You called me that.
I hope everyone has a good weekend, enjoys the game. Go Hawks. Night.
Yep. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
And call.